Well, welcome back to another episode, Prophecy for the Last Hour. My name is LizMcGee, and I'm continuing sort of a part 2 here on a subject matter I started last week on the soul. The more I study, read, meditate on the Word, we have lost so much of the understanding, the foundations laid for us by our patriarchs. This is, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the founders, so to speak, who laid the groundwork. And this is all very archetypal also for all Israel. So, but I'm going to just sort of interject a kind of in this whole thing about the soul, because it's huge. I'm just touching on a few things. It's so deep. It's so esoteric. There's so much knowledge that we can have. But I'm also titling this Sex and the Soul because it's so readily apparent. It's a mess today. We have so lost our spiritual and moral underpinnings, foundations. I mean, the culture, it's nuts. I was a child of the 60s or the 70s, let's say, and yes, I have a past, and I am, praise Elohim for the blood of Yeshua, okay? But today, it's 100 times worse and more confusing and compromised. But I have some things to say. Before the gatekeepers close down, and before true censorship hits all of our media tentacles, and messages like this can't get out per se. I thought I'd get this in maybe while I can. There is this whole world of AI, artificial intelligence, which is the high mind, which is really the Hasatan's last-ditch effort to enslave mankind, to lock him down so he cannot reach into the higher and really higher understandings of Elohim, all right? So before the AI helmet, so to speak, gets put on mankind, which is really replacing, see, I can't go into depth on all this, but I see it so easily. It's replacing Adam Caveman. We're grafted into the body of Elohim. That is such a, think of our body for a second. It is they say that the human is the most complex, highly evolved, beautiful, mystical, insanely, minutely engineered piece of living software on the planet, right? Well, AI is going to, which is really, in the mystical sense, Adam came in, the body of Elohim, is being replaced, by AI. And it's really sad, but it's happening. And I lived long enough to know before the internet, so I know that there can be wonderful life. You don't need to plug in every second to this World Wide Web, so to speak. But the younger generation, and even my boys, like I said, those 30 and under really don't know that there's other options. So the lid is closing on us very fast. But that's all. So, because one of the problems is, as you close AI and as the censorship comes in more and more, and the voices of the righteous get more and more shut down and shut out, it's our perceptions, where we can get our information from, gets more and more limited until it can really get locked down and funneled through a very tight and specific conduit of information that really takes Elohim out of the equation. That's the whole point. So where your morals come from, good morals, because remember, come to the elect really from the Judeo-Christian heritage, right? We can read the Bible. We have text. We have a whole stream of information that has been preserved for us generationally that comes down from our patriarchs on how to live righteously in this fallen, evil world. Well, if a young person comes into this matrix and doesn't have access in any way, shape, or form, they're not, mission accomplished. All right, it's very hard. It is more and more the conviction that the elect really do need to stand up, and even if it costs us our life, whatever, I see it, the cost is going to become more and more to help people to keep this narrow gate, to keep it open. Anyways, I'm talking about sex and the soul, okay? They are so interconnected. It's a huge, deep subject. There's some things I want to say, but in the backdrop, like I said, of this whole matrix that's being dropped on our head that is going to really exclude a knowledge of the truth, all right? The archetypes of male and female are probably the most basic archetypes to being human, right? I mean, can't get more basic than that. You're born a male or you're born a female. To my knowledge, there's really, yes, I know in the esoteric, we have had some incursions of hybrids and all this kind of stuff, but for all intents and purposes, we're all male and female. But this understanding of how deep this is and how many levels and what Elohim is really saying on so many levels is what's been lost more and more and more. So, to start with, everything is gender. Gender is is really the root, one of the roots understandings of the way the whole cosmos is set up. Gender is everywhere, it's in everything. It manifests on all planes, all right? Because gender is what has been created by Elohim to engender multiplication. Now, even if you keep, now these things can speak specifically of, men and women coming together and producing a third a child in the human race, but every species out there does this. And also in information, this is how we understand, like computers, X's and O's, this whole concept of creating and making, taking something very simplistic and you can expand, you can make a whole incredible a world ecosystem out of that, all right? This is all done through a process of gender multiplication. And if you keep it even very secular and clinical, like X's and O's and things, or you can throw in, the whole biological concept that we have. And also gender can, all right. So originally, we were made in the image of Elohim, male and female, all right? That's very specific language. It's done because that is the foundational principle. You don't get more foundational than that. But this concept, the way the ancients understood it, we've kind of lost it, okay? So we don't understand, we only understand truly, basically down here, gender multiplication, basically within the paradigm of lust. I mean, honestly, that is where 95% of most people, that's their box. All right, unless you can get your whole body, soul, and spirit elevated into higher ways of living and higher understandings of this thing. So when it says in the verses that two, okay, so everything relates, like, how do I say it? Everything has multiple levels of meaning, and everything relates the same way. I've saw this so many times, but in a different plane. So you can take numbers. Numbers really can say the same thing that I'm saying using a lot of flowery language, okay, or even in multiplication. So it takes 1 plus 1. So it would take 1 plus 1 coming together, the 2. And when it says that 2 shall be 1, meaning they make a third. All right, that's the foundational principle. It takes a male and a female to come together to make a third, to make a new living soul. Okay, but within that also is this concept of, to make a new living soul, to make a new creation. We need, as I said in the beginning, Yeshua came to save our souls. Our issue at stake here is our soul. And I said before, and I say this more, you need to love your soul, which is a part of Elohim. He gave you a part of light, a source, and a part of himself. In the body of Christ, we're all going to be like little cells, little souls, little pieces of Elohim, all right? You have to, I mean, if you hate God, whatever, fine, you have free will. You can do whatever you want with this understanding or with, you know, but if you want to eventually glorify your Creator forever, you need to get that spark, that light, that original blueprint of you. You need to cleanse it, purify, make it holy, all right? And so, but back to this, all the ancients understood in its most archetypal way, male and female. And this is where we've lost this, because we don't have the esoteric understanding, and everybody thinks that, all esoteric. Now, I've been through all this, okay? So if you're here, you're up to speed. So the male has always been understood as a force, a flow, a flux. It's a powerful flow of life. Now, physicists will tell you that everything they have broken down for you into forces and into matter or bits, information. Okay, so in the male and the female, you have fundamentally, archetypally, that exact concept. You have a male, a force that injects itself into what would be called the female. The female represents, in this sense, a receptor. All right. So the receptor is in this sense the ground, the earth, the womb. On every level, this archetypal principle works, is right, is correct, is the way to view it. All right. So this is why a lot of times in our Bible and all they talk about the earth, they talk about the female, they talk about the womb, and they talk about the ground, kind of all synonymous. Because to them, there was no separation. You could just go, they had the understanding, so they could go from one understanding, like the highest spiritual understanding, down to literally, boots on the ground and men and women, and creating that third new creation, okay? Now, this is really important to understand, fundamentally. So this is why women are known as, because women have, it plays out, all right? It takes the thrust, literally, and this is a little, I should say, this is probably going to be a little adult theme. So, seriously, if you're a child or, just what would be the word? Monitor yourself, all right? Because much of the imagery in the text is really sexual. It goes a lot over our heads when you begin to understand it. But I'm going to get the problem that we have and have always had since the fall is that we view these things, our first response mentally, physically, and spiritually is through the program of lust, okay? And that's kind of the problem, all right? Because let me tell you what lust is, all right? Okay, I've done a few teachings on this, so, because actually, let me just say this. Eve was the last creation of Elohim, right? Everything was made, and then finally, and then Eve, he separated the male and Eve, and it says she was very good. Originally, before everything was, messed up, so to speak, the female, Eve, in its final archetypal manifestation in the lower earth, which is what was really good. It was the pinnacle of all creation, all right? Now, but how did it get so corrupted? And how did women, and actually we literally, women have suffered a backlash for thousands of years because of this, what happened in the fall. And a lot of it is because the true esoteric understanding has gotten lost. So, it's always a game of lost and found. You lose the keys, you find the keys. You lose the keys, you find the keys. So in dark ages, periods of mankind's history where they don't really get it on the deeper levels, it gets very fundamentalist, and people pay the price for that, okay, as women have, so to speak. But that's not at all. Okay, so I want to talk about mazal. See, lust in and of itself is a creation. It is a program that was made, so to speak, by Elohim, because you need it. On the animal level, it is necessary to have this program, which we would call heat, but in the animal, you would call it heat. Okay, and you can see how these words all relate to each other. They're not like arbitrarily chosen. So animals get quote unquote in heat, which is where it's biologically programmed. This is the relationship of the sun, the moon, and the stars, the mazal, the seasons, literally. If we understand scientifically how everything is so insanely programmed to produce life, animals have a season for mating. It's like if they're in the water temperature gets warm, or if it's in the spring, or like in late fall, and a lot of animals will cohabitate, and then they will go into a winter season and have these young or long term. I mean, there's a lot of different ways in nature that this plays out. Not everybody's quote unquote gestation is exactly the same, but the point is, it's in seasons. It's in times. It is all determined by programs that animal has no control over. I mean, it just happened that, this is the thing about the animal world. They run on programs. It's called instinct. All right. They don't stop and think about it. They don't decide to change or let's upgrade now. No, and it's beautiful in its purest sense. All right. But man, the Adamic man who had the breath of Elohim breathed into him, we're above animals. And we were never supposed to procreate according to a program called heat, called fire, where our flesh dominates. All right. This is a huge principle. That's why it's one of the hardest things for people to get a handle on the text. And I'm just going to do blitzkrieg through all sorts of texts. Our Bible text, Paul in the New Testament, the Old Testament, in the Zohar, Gospel of Peter, Clement. I mean, I have a lot of the whole gamut of writings to prove this is the mindset, the orientation, the belief system from which our texts come. So it's really important to understand, how did we get our sexual programming to be running on this program called lust, as opposed to a cognitive, in holiness and purity, a reproduction, be fruitful and multiply, but again, where everything stayed within its species, and we know that, and that has many levels of understanding. I'm sure most people are up to speed on that. And it is done in with the consciousness, starting in the highest consciousness. You understand? You're bringing a soul, all right? Animals I don't think they really think about that they're going to, let's create little baby deer. It's just all a natural process. It happens. We have the ability to understand what our actions will result in. Number one, that's part of the rational mind. The rational mind can foresee cause and effect. So we can understand, okay, I can foresee what this is going to be, what is going to happen by that quote unquote act. Now the point is, you're bringing in a soul, and this is where, again, if we don't understand the importance, the holiness, and of souls, and not all souls are equal. This is the whole point. This is what the ancient understood. And so we just go out there, and today everybody fornicates with everybody, and whatever. And then we wonder why our world is such a mess, and why young kids today almost don't even stand a chance. It's like, oh my gosh. Okay. Praise Elohim that his number one attribute is loving kindness, is tender mercy, and that the blood of Yeshua is there. All right. There's 5 levels of the soul. Like I said, basically 4 of them are what we basically interact with. There is one called the emanative, Elohim, the level of Moshiach, the level of that is outside. I mean, this is all very I can't even go into explaining it. But we live in what's called the world of Asiyah, the world of physicality, the world of matter, dense material matter, and it is a system where it's organic, elemental particles recycle. Okay, they stay. So really and truly, and this is the whole point of when things decompose. I mean, on every level, the mineral, animal, all these kingdoms operate need each other, because there's a constant cycle of recycle going on. All right, but this is where it causes. See, in the next video, I'm going to try to really explain death. Okay, death is being caught it's like getting caught in the spinner of the dryer, and you can't get out. You just go around and around and around and around. You have entered into a realm of recycling, and unless you can get out, there's no getting out of it. Okay, so. And if you're so this is why with Houston, we had a problem when Adam and Eve originally fell in this, since they got into this, and that's in hindsight, in the deeper end, if you could understand why he had to protect the tree of life, because if they had then eaten and partook of the tree of life, they would have really stayed in that cycle. We would have stayed in that cycle of death forever. All right, this is something. So many deep levels on this thing, but let me just try to say this. So I'm talking about the soul. Our really biggest problem is in what is called the carnal man, the animal soul. It's our Nefesh soul life. It is compromised. It is a computer program that is absolutely infiltrated tons of viruses, and it is compromised. Okay, now I just want to read you 3 verses, Bible verses, where the word soul is in the Hebrew, the word nefesh. And so you have to learn these 5 words: nefesh, ruach, neshama, haya, and yehuda. These are the 5 levels, Hebrew words that are talking about soul, and each one is very specific. All right, so soul, this is the problem with the Greek. Why you always have to go back to the Hebrew. It's same thing with the whole word law in the Hebrew. In the Greek, there's only 1 word for law, yet in the Hebrew, there's about 10 words. That's why nobody can figure out Paul, the place of the law in the Christian world, because we got 1 word, and you can't do it with 1 word. You've got to have every single nuance to look at them all, put it in correct order, parse it out, and rightly divide it. Okay, you cannot rightly divide a multifaceted understanding on one, use 1 word at 1 level to try to unlock the keys in every level. It doesn't work that way. So that's why I say you've got to, so Psalm 116, 7 through 8, it says, "Return to your rest, O my soul, O my nefesh." Okay, when we die, our nefesh is finally at rest again. So let me just read the whole thing. You'll see what I'm saying. "Return to your rest, O my soul, my nefesh, for Adonai Hashem has been good to you. For you, Adonai, rescued me from death." All right. The soul that gets saved is the soul that can get out of this spin cycle. Okay, and can go up to higher levels where there is shalom, there is peace. This is not, all right, it's a whole different, all right, I hope that makes sense. Psalm 56:3, "For you have delivered my soul from death and my feet from stumbling, that I may walk before my Elohim in the light of life." See, now when you understand the tree of life and understanding what these, you can, I'm just saying the Bible unlocks itself on so many levels. So just, "You've delivered my nefesh," it's the word soul, which is the word nefesh, "from death." It is our nefesh that is in this death cycle. "And my feet from stumbling." Feet refers to, again, just so you know, it's always consistent. Feet refers to the lowest level on the Sephirotic chart, or the tree of life. Feet represents the world of Asiyah. So that's where we stumble. We stumble when our nefesh soul is put into a body, and we got to walk through this valley, in the shadow of death. All right. And then the last one, Psalm 25:20, "Guard my soul and deliver me. Let me not be put to shame, for I take refuge in you." All right, this is the point. If you die and your nefesh is still in the spin cycle, so to speak, There is no elevation for your soul. Okay, there are spiritual laws just like there are natural laws. And this is part of what is so scary about AI, replacing AI with Adam Caveman, okay, which is really where we're going. That is the whole mystery of the mark of the beast, the 666. It's within Adam Caveman is salvation, is the middle pillar. That's not going to be the case in AI. There will be no salvation to get you out of that. Oh my gosh, if anything, it puts a total lid on you. It's like an iron. Okay, so we did those Bible verses. Now, let me give this point. Now, when a man descends, this is a quote. When a man descends down to this world, to the physical world, to wear a physical body. Again, I told you last week, apar is the word for body, is the word for dust. Our bodies are made of dust. Apar, it's talking about the organic elements in our body that we know we are, 90% water. We are made up of the elemental particles of the world, and we share that in common with all other Nefesh life on the planet, or in this world of Asiyah. They leave their root attached to their source. This is in the Bible. You ever heard of this? It's called the silver cord. This is even referred to as the red thread. There is nothing is ever untethered, just floating around out there in all these different dimensions. Everything is tethered one to the other. So our soul, which comes down and gets into a body, into a vessel, it leaves its root, wherever it came from, attached to the source. When soul descends down to this world to where the body, the root upper part remains attached, attached to where it originated from, all right, where it was taken. And only the branch of the root descends and wears a body in this world. Now, this is going to explain a lot of this language, agricultural language on one level that's talking, he is the root and we are the branch. See, this is the point. Root, Yeshua, Yad-He, Vav-He, that we're grafted into is the middle pillar, is the trunk of the tree, is the tree. And we are a branch and we are grafted into it, okay? Now, let me read this, okay? Upon sinning, tares, okay, we've heard this before, which is sinning against the Ruach, is a branch that becomes severed from the tree, and the person remains standing in this world like the spirit of an animal, no higher connection. Next, I'm going to do this plant analogy, and then we're going to move into this concept of the animal soul. This is the secret meaning of that soul shall surely be cut off. And this is also the meaning of man is a tree of the field, because from it the root system, and it's mazal, this is, there's so many deep things in this, flows the spiritual energy to the branch which descended below and enclosed the physical body. So remember, it's always male and female, which means there's always a flow, there's always a conduit. So when you understand this principle, understand the river of life, understand the river of light, understanding all these things, these are flows. Like, this is spiritual energy, and it works both ways: spiritual negative energy, demonic energy, spiritual light energy, spiritual life energy. Okay, but what I want you to see here is, okay, and I don't have this quote, I read this one, that angels, when they look down on us, so to speak, and the reason the tree analogy works, on one level, the branches of a tree, the leaves, and all the different branches that branch out. And then, how do I do this? Once with our brain, the synopsis of our brain, and you ever seen the brain, and it looks like, and actually, someone just put on Facebook a picture I saw, and it was looking at a canopy of trees, if you were above them all, and this is what it's saying, where it talks about where there's a green tree and a dead tree, a dry tree. So if our thought process, the highest level that you're looking down on me, so to speak, you're going to see my thoughts first, let's just say, and that's all the leaves and then the branches and all those thoughts, they come from, they're connected. If you're a dead tree, or if you're death and you have no light of life, if you're not a green tree, you're going to look like a dead tree. Does that make sense? When Yeshua, when the guy got healed and Yeshua said, what do you say? He said, well, I see dead men walking. I see like men. I think that he said, I see like men like trees walking. Okay, this is a Hebraic idiom that we need to understand. So this and so a dead tree, someone who is not tapped into the light of life, the divine flow, the flux of life energy, eventually will get cut off, the branch cut off, broken, severed, compiled, gathered together and burnt in the fire. I mean, this is all part of what they're saying, okay? And angels, who are our judges, okay? This is the point. Angels are our judges. They see what we're doing. Like in the last verse, they judge, and this is a whole nother deep philosophy, theology that's in the text. The angels bring accusation. You have accusing angels, and you have good angels. The accusing angels love to bring up all the stuff we've done in the heavenly court, like, oh, she just did this, and she just did that, and oh, this should happen to them. In Mazda, you reap what you sow, and there's this whole process that goes on. All right, this is sort of all what it's talking about. Okay, but to get now into the animal soul, which is the soul that is ruled under a mazal of lust, all right, which is why it is so serious. People today who go, oh, Christians are just, they're such prudes, they're so, I don't know what the word is, they never want to have a good time. I mean, the whole concept that comes against people who want to live righteously, because and a lot of people are trying to live righteously, but I think it really helps. Knowledge is power. It helps you to get a grip and keep a grip when you really understand how high the stakes are, and that everything we say and we do and we have to really has eternal consequences. So now I want to read this, okay, because we have two places here. Well, let me just read this. Now, this is Paul. This is 1 Corinthians 6. 15 through 20, it says, do you not know that your bodies are members of Christ? See, this is the point. The mystical is the body of Christ that Paul talks about is the exact same mystical understanding that is found in Jewish mysticism. All right? Paul was an extremely brilliant sage theologian who knew all the writings, so didn't go past him. He didn't make up this. All right? Shall I take then the members of Christ, and I have to say this too, because again, and I hope you know this too, Christ is not Jesus is Yeshua's last name. Christ, he is Yeshua haMashiach. Moshiach, an anointing, and he says he is the anointed one. This is a level, and this is like the highest you need to get this anointing, this Christos, this level of operating in your consciousness. So this is where you operate from. Okay, that's what it refers to. I mean, it's wisdom and understanding. It are programs that are higher, and they are outside of the mazal. They're higher than the sun winds of the mazal. Okay, I can't do justice to that one, right? But so he said, well, should I take the members of Christ and make them members of a harlot? I don't think so. Certainly not. Or do you not know that he who is joined to a harlot is one body with her? And again, understand, they never break archetypal understanding. For the two, he says, become one flesh, right? But he who is joined to Elohim is one spirit with him. But if you're joined to a harlot, because of the whole mathematical formula that 1 + 1 coming together will make a third, will make a new entity. So you got to understand the male and the female archetype. Wherever male and female join together, they make a third entity, all right? And if you're joining with demonic darkness, you're going to make a third entity of darkness. It's a spiritual law, okay? So flee sexual immorality, and this is on every level. Every sin that a man does is outside the body, but he who commits sexual immorality sins against his own body. Do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from Elohim, and you are not your own, for you were bought with a price. Therefore glorify Elohim in your body and in your spirit, which are Elohim. See, now this is what Paul, look at, on many levels, he just said, glorify Elohim in your body and I'm sure in this sense, Paul understands, because the body and the Nefesh are really used interchangeably because they're totally connected. You cannot have you cannot have a body that's alive unless it has a Nefesh, and they're connected and they work and lead with each other. Okay. But then there's also a spirit. So on many levels, flee sexual immorality, but also uses flee idols, because flee false doctrines, flee anything that will join you into negative or to actions, thoughts, words, or deeds from the other side. That is why it says to put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature, which is, again, it's talking about this Nefesh, this lower level that tends to make us function like an animal, where we just, everything is done in an animalistic and a lot of times uncontrollable. This is why addictions, it's so important to get above these programs. Okay. Now it says here in Matthew 5:27, reiterating this concept, but you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery within her heart. Okay, this is why, and this is what Yeshua came really in a lot of ways to reconnect the different kingdoms and how they all function together in a holistic whole, which again had gotten lost. When you just do mitos is a Jewish word, we should be familiar with, character traits. When you just do things by rote religious doctrine, you should, taste not, touch not, and you don't understand the deeper levels, how that is accessing and operating through much higher programs, it loses its power, it loses its force to make you understand on a larger level what's at stake. Okay. That's when I was a kid, that was my big thing, was people saying, well, why should I do that? Well, give me a deeper answer. Don't do that. Well, why? Inquiring minds want to. There's a lot of people that we could save if we could just fundamentally always give them the deeper meanings. Why? And this gets into this whole, the sexual world today. Why we can't even have conversations with people anymore? Why, transgender or homosexuality or pedophilia, all these unbelievably gross sexual perversions are not right, because people have their boxes so narrow, and because we do not have the deeper understandings to give them. All right, you have to have a reason for the answer that is in you. You just can't tell someone don't do it. Yahweh expects us to be able to work on the higher levels of the mind, of rational, of understanding the why. Okay, it says here, Clement of Alexandria, I have a lot of quotes from him because he was a pretty sagacious guy. He studied under many of the sages, early Christian leadership, who studied under James and John and Peter and Paul and all these guys. So Clement, he says, but the multitude cram themselves like brutes. All right, now we're going to get into this. Measuring happiness by the belly and the pudenda. Now, if you're savvy, you understand the pudenda is a word for a female body part. Okay, I'm not going to, but this is the point. This has always been known. You can either feed the flesh or you can elevate and liberate the soul. Okay. Now, Clement of Alexandria, here's another quote from him. It says, however, it has not always been so, okay, but when the fall occurred, because Adam and Eve succumbed to their desire for each other and copulated before the allotted time. Now, this is a partial explanation of a very deep subject, and I'm not going to go into this, the serpent seed as a whole. But on one level, it's absolutely true that Eve copulated with what is called an Akash, which is a heavenly being, which is an order of angel, and created the first hybrid called Cain. Now, that's pretty well established, flushed out. that's not the scope of this teaching. But what's more interesting to the story that we need now, in my opinion, to grow into is the understanding how Eve was infiltrated, because this is the whole point, in her higher levels of consciousness, how this progression happened, and is still going on today. If you think that this is humans and angels aren't copulating and fornicating today, well then you know, really living in la la land. We, the adults, the elect, we need to have this understanding on this level, because somebody's got to be able to be the adult in the room to tell the children, oh my gosh,